contest beforehand. They were like, okay, well, submit us a story in 500 words about why you think it's so important to go to Mars. And I was like, I'm going to do that. So I did that, and I've been in touch with them ever since then. And when I put in my application of a video, which had to be less than 90 seconds, I really worked hard on it. I rode around St. Louis. I did a bunch of filming. I'm like, I'm going to give this my all, and I've continued to give it my all since then.
Okay. What about the one-way nature of this? Once you leave, 3, 2, 1, liftoff. That's the last word you'll ever hear as an Earthling. After that, you'll be a space traveler, and then you'll be a Martian, and you're never coming back.
That's true. I look on it a little bit like marriage. Everybody gets really excited about the wedding date, but the important thing isn't the wedding date. The important thing is actually what comes after that, is planning for that lifetime commitment and knowing what you're getting yourself into. And I think that this is something I want to get myself into because it's so important that we do this. It does not daunt me at all that I will not be coming back to Earth. There's 10 years for me to do everything I want to do on Earth still. And then I can go out there and do something new. It's this great adventure I want to go on.
What do family and friends say?
Oh, my friends are all super ecstatic about it. My coworkers.
Oh, wait a second. What message does that send to you? We really love you, Maggie. Get off the planet.
Well, no,
we can't wait till you are out of our sight forever.
Well, they think it's great that this is happening. They're super excited about it. My one roommate was like, "Oh man, can I apply?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, anybody can apply. They're opening up the next round of applications." I mean, there are certain medical requirements, and there are certain, obviously psychological requirements, but...
Good. You definitely want to check that out.
You don't want to be spending the rest of your life with 3 other very insane people in a trapped environment.
You know what? Let's stop short of insane. You don't want to go with 3 annoying people.
Yeah, that's
These are the
true.
only human beings you're going to see, not just for the 7 months you're flying there, but if Boz is successful in getting you there and you live through it, the next mission won't be for, 2 years after that, right?
That's correct. And that's why they're really getting this narrowed down now, 10 years before this even happens, is because they want to have very solid teams of people going that are already very familiar with each other, very familiar with how they interact and how we react in a crisis. So we already know when something goes wrong, exactly who's going to be doing what.
Okay, now I said we should talk about the funding. Boz, when he announced this a couple of years ago, said he needed to raise about $6 billion to do it. Other people who are in the space business say that's not even going to get you anywhere near Mars. You're going to need $100 billion to do this. He says, okay, we're going to sell a global reality TV show when we get down to the finals, which you might be on if you get past whatever the next level is.
Right.
And he's going to try to sell that, and so there'll be TV revenue there. You might have to have sponsor patches on your clothing and all that sort of stuff for every live shot that gets done from Mars, although I think there's a 20-minute delay in communications, so it's nothing will be a real live shot.
Between 12 and 20,
okay.
yeah.
So do you know any part of that side of the business that Boz is trying to put together here?
Well, I think it's a very good example of the way that our economy currently works, that we are so geared towards this business end of it. It's like, okay, well, we're going to collect these sponsors and we're going to show what we're doing and garner interest that way through that reality TV show. And I think reality TV show is a bit of a misnomer. We just don't have an exact right word for what we're coming up with. Maybe we need to make that new word. Maybe
Call
like
it documentary TV.
Yeah, documentary
or something.
TV or journey TV show, something like that.
Okay.
So I think that it's very possible to raise that funding in this way because this is kind of how we raise funding these days, is all that media awareness and getting all those sponsors. And they're going to send a mission up in just a few years, in 2018, to prove that we actually can get to Mars, that this project actually has that viability.
Do we have a rocket that can get to Mars?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we're sending things to Mars now.
I know. Do we have a rocket that can send people to Mars that could carry a payload as large as 4 human beings?
Well, really, there's not that much of an issue in getting to Mars. Once you get into space and get that initial acceleration to get out there, there's no friction in space.
Yeah, try not to go to Mars.
Exactly. As long as you know where you're aiming for, then you'll get there and you'll get into orbit. Really, the issue is getting to the surface. Can we send enough fuel to set us down gently on the surface? Because we weigh a lot more than the rovers that have been sent there thus far. And that's one of the things that we're going to have to look into and one of the big challenges that we'll face.
You have a degree in electrical engineering?
That's correct.
Okay. Will any of that be applicable to what you're doing here, or do you literally have to learn rocket science?
I think Mars One has been very smart in choosing who the final 100 are, because I was looking through the list and I'm seeing a lot of other electrical engineers, a lot of other structural engineers, doctors, physicists. I think that that's a very smart move because then they've got that assistance also, and we can help out in developing some of these technologies.
All right. I don't want to get too personal here, but I have to ask you, you're going there with these 3 other people. Could be men, could be women, could be a mixture. The 4 of you will be the only human beings that you each see over those 2+ years. Human beings have physical needs. Have you thought about that part of the story?
I have, and I was looking at some articles that were like, there will be no sex on Mars. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't think that's what they mean. I don't think that sex is out of the question. I think that procreation is out of the question. So, you know, if there's 2 people and they like each other and they're taking the necessary steps to make sure that there are no children in an area that we cannot support them in, I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Wow. You really want to go forever?
I want to go forever.
You know, there was a report that says that some scientist said that he predicted that if you were to get there, you probably wouldn't last 69 days. 68 would be the max.
Yeah, that was an MIT study, and it was done by a professor and a few graduate students, I believe. And I mean, that's taking into account what we know now. And all the technologies are in place, but they haven't all been contracted yet. So we haven't had the chance to test out exactly what's going to be happening. We've got 10 years before we launch. We're going to know before we get there how many days we've got, and it's probably going to be longer than 68 if we get that far.
And maybe it's not 10 years from now. Maybe it's 15 years from now.
Exactly, and I think Mars One is willing to accept that there are inevitable delays that's going to happen. That's going to be in any project. You're going to run into that.
Just ask Elon Musk and SpaceX. They send stuff up and it explodes, and they say, okay,
exactly.
Build another one,
and
let's
that's
go.
exactly it, is that you just keep going. You plan for those setbacks, but you have to have a goal. So that's what our goal is right now. Our goal is 2024. If that's a very aggressive goal, then that's just what we're aiming for right now.
What's the next step? You're down to 100 out of 200,000. When do they winnow it down to the next number?
I think what they're going to be doing now is probably focusing on a lot of group activities and seeing, of those 100, which groups work the best. So I'll probably spend time with a bunch of the other candidates and seeing, okay, well, hey, who do I have a natural rapport with? And then after that, once we've got those groups whittled down, I suspect they're going to start cutting whole groups. I believe the next cut is aiming to have about 24, so they'll have 8 groups on hand that are ready to go to Mars at any point in time. So if the first group, the one that gets chosen to go, if somebody suddenly on launch day is like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this, I don't know what I was thinking, they've got 7 other groups to choose from. So that'll be the next cut.
Well, good luck. I'm very fascinated by this concept and the psychological aspect of it, of wanting to leave the planet forever and go off on this great mission. But we've had brave people who have pushed the boundaries of space before, and maybe you'll be one of them.
I really hope to be. Thank you so much.
I hope so, too. Maggie Duckworth from right here in St. Louis wants to be a Martian and could get there. You never know. I'm Paul Harris. This is the Big 550 KTRS.